What were the most important takeaways from Sunday's Week 7 NFL action for fantasy football? What do we do with Breece Hall down? Should we panic about Lamar Jackson? And how about that performance by the Bengals? It's time to break it down all right here and right now as we begin another edition and another week of Locked On Fantasy Football.
Are Locked On Fantasy, your daily NFL fantasy podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Greetings, everyone, and welcome to another edition of the Locked On Fantasy Football Podcast. As usual, I'm your host, Vinnie Iyer, and I'm not doing this. I'm writing about NFL and fantasy football for sportingnews.com. What a week 7 of Sunday action it was here for fantasy football. A lot of crazy things going on here, and unfortunately, some major injuries as well. One in particular where we're going to lose another fantastic young running back for the rest of the season here. So, tough break with Breece Hall. We also had Lamar Jackson and Tom Brady struggling going into their Thursday night matchup as the Buccaneers host the Ravens here in Week 8. So what do you do with those guys going into that game after their struggles here on Sunday? At least Lamar's team won. The Buccaneers, oh boy, 21-3, lose to the Panthers as massive double-digit favorites on the road. So second straight week, the Buccaneers offense disappoints, and they lose a game as well. So what's wrong with the Buccaneers? What's wrong with the Packers? We can go on and on. A lot of disappointments there for sure. But we're going to focus on the sad part of fantasy football. More injury attrition here as we approach midseason. Then we're going to look at, again, those disappointing guys, not just at quarterback, but across positions. What happened? Is it going to get better, or should we really worry? We'll play panic or patience with that. And then we've got some real standout performances. We'll play a little bit of Are You For Real, but also looking at some total studs going off here in Week 7. So all that ahead here on Locked On Fantasy Football. Thanks for making Locked On Fantasy Football your first listen every day. We're free and available to you on all platforms. Today's episode of Locked On Fantasy Football is brought to you by PrizePicks. PrizePicks is daily fantasy made easy. Pick 2 to 5 players. If they score more or less than their PrizePicks projection, you can win up to 10 times your money on your entry. First-time users can receive a 100% instant deposit match up to $100 with the promo code Locked On. That's PrizePicks.com, promo code Locked On. All right. We'll get into the injuries and see what we want to do with those here with our teams going forward. Breece Hall had to be carted off. The initial diagnosis and fear was a torn ACL. So Breece Hall is probably down for the season. We'll get that confirmation a little bit later there. But brutal. This kid was on fire. I mean, this rookie first rounder from Iowa State, he was the entire Jets offense. He was doing it, a big run after the catch and all that kind of stuff, and long touchdown. He had that at least before he left. So really disappointing. He was just rolling and rolling, and we see this happen. So it's Michael Carter time. He has pretty good value here. I think it'll still be Michael Carter getting most of the touches here. I think they'll work in a little bit behind him. But again, Michael Carter was playing pretty regularly as a key guy in the red zone with Breece Hall. He started up the season maybe being the starter, so we saw that pivot. So they're really high on Michael Carter. He should get some good touches here going forward. This Jets offense all about being run heavy here. So again, Breece Hall's down, but hopefully you have Michael Carter, or you can go get him in your leagues here as a plus handcuff now. Again, the Jets are not going to go away from this game plan. Remember, they were pretty high on Carter, and he was getting some good fantasy value when healthy. Last year, it wasn't a lot of stretches there where you could trust Michael Carter in that capacity, but he's a capable back in his own right. So again, this is why if there's a clear handcuff, when we knew this with Hall and Carter, that you had to go after that player. Now he's going to be the highest priority on the waiver wire. Now the Jets also had another injury here of note as Corey Davis went down with the less significant knee injury, an MCL sprain in this one. So really, this offense has just been shattered around Zach Wilson. They were relying a lot on Breece Hall. Wilson was trusting most in Corey Davis. You didn't have Elijah Moore active for this game against the Broncos because he had that ugly incident in-house in practice where he demanded a trade. Well, guess what? They're going to need Elijah Moore quite a bit now to play off Garrett Wilson. So I think it's going to be a lot more. Again, Hall was used in the short passing game. This should help Elijah Moore's value, assuming that he's back in the fold with this team. If not, maybe he'll get traded to teams such as the Packers or Ravens and be used a little bit better. But man, looking at it, it's tough. But yeah, Davis is going to miss some time. He's had injury issues throughout here, going back to his Titans days. But last year as well, he was not counted on to be consistently available. That was the case this year as well. So Davis is just a guy that can't stay healthy. Again, first round pick there, believe it or not, a top 5 pick there by the Titans, but just has not lived up to those expectations. So opportunity knocks here with the Hall injury in the passing game. Davis as well, where they have to use Elijah Moore. So they got to get him happy, got to get him in the mix. They could really use him now. I mean, we talk about trade deadline, but this team is 5-2. They're not going to be sellers. They shouldn't be. They can get in the playoffs here with how well their defense is playing. So Elijah Moore has to be in the fold and Garrett Wilson. So bump up both of those guys for sure in relation to both of these injuries. Now, DK Metcalf, a very concerning injury. He did get carted off the field. No, it wasn't for a bathroom break. It was for an ankle injury. Initial x-rays were good in terms of being negative, which is a positive thing when it comes to x-rays. So DK Metcalf, we'll see. I think you might have to miss some time. But we saw immediately Marquise Goodwin was expanding his role, and he scored touchdowns there with Geno Smith. So Goodwin is not the greatest. I mean, he's not DK Metcalf. Tyler Lockett was another quietest game, but the biggest reason for that was the Seahawks were running all over this team, the Chargers. So we'll see what happens with Metcalf. They get the Giants next week. It's a tough matchup there at home, but a good win by the Seahawks. But we'll see about Metcalf's status. It doesn't look too serious, so maybe you'll be without him in the short term, but Metcalf should be fine longer term here this season. But anyway, I'm not thrilled about this matchup. I think it's okay for Lockett because we saw Christian Kirk do some damage in the slot. He could be definitely someone that gets a high volume there next week if Metcalf is out. But it's a tough matchup actually for Metcalf on the outside against that Giants secondary containing things. So the Chargers did a good job. J.C. Jackson actually got hurt in that game as well, so he hasn't been playing very well. So again, Metcalf not involved as much before he had to exit the game, and again, I think we dodged a bullet there. Nico Collins, I liked his matchup. Chris Moore had the touchdown, however. They had threw to other guys late in the game because they were hurting there. But Nico Collins' growing injury there, he was playing really well before the bye. So we'll see if he's got to miss additional time here. Mike Williams went down with an injury there in that same game with the Chargers and Seahawks. So we'll see what he's doing here. We just had Keenan Allen return from the hamstring injury. Also had Joshua Palmer miss that game. So we'll see what happens with Mike Williams there. Will he have to miss time? Well, the biggest thing here that is going to help us think about that is the fact the Chargers have a bye week here. So that's going to help. And we thought they were going to keep Allen out through that bye week. It didn't happen. They put him back in more as a decoy. So hopefully this Chargers offense, at least in the receiving core, will be a lot healthier. We know they're down with left tackle Rashawn Slater. They've had Jalen Guyton, a stretch field guy there on IR for a lot of it. So Justin Herbert needs weapons. He still got to 293 and 2 there, but again, those downfield weapons kind of containing the upside of Justin Herbert. Ryan Tannehill at quarterback got hurt here, so we'll see if they have to go with Malik Willis. He said he was hurting quite a bit after the game with his ankle injury. He admitted that, so there's a chance that it could open up the door for Malik Willis to start. They actually put Malik Willis into a weird rushing attempt, and he lost a fumble, so not the most auspicious way to get him into a key game where they were having a lead here. So we'll see what happens at Tannehill, but I wouldn't feel too inspired with Malik Willis. It's not like we're investing too much in this passing game, but the biggest thing, Derrick Henry is still rolling here for the Titans. Now, Amon-Ra St. Brown, it was a bummer. 1 catch, 4 yards. Goes down, however, hard and had to go in concussion protocol. That was it. So we had no DeAndre Swift. He was a surprise scratch here with his multiple injuries. So that was a bummer. You lose Amon-Ra, and that was it for Jared Goff. He had multiple interceptions. The Cowboys defense rocked him as usual. So linear injury here. So hopefully St. Brown will be cleared. But again, these concussions are a little bit ambiguous in how long they can keep a player out. So you think 1 week is usually the expectation, but you might have a Kenny Pickett situation where he's good to go because it happened early in the game. David Njoku is a guy that we really like this year, but he came down with an ankle injury there. He was actually having a pretty big game against the Ravens. His absence, I think, hurt this offense quite a bit. I mean, they're starting to feel a little bit with more Jacoby Brissett, which is not bad because you have Deshaun Watson coming back soon. So between Njoku, Peoples-Jones, and Cooper at wide receiver. You'd have a chance here, but Njoku will watch his status there. They also lost backup tight end Pharaoh Brown. So a little bit of Harrison Bryant might be on the way here for this Browns offense if there's lingering issues with those injuries. Al Lazard, this guy can't stay healthy. I mean, it was the first game where he didn't actually score a touchdown when he was healthy. We know he missed action early in the season with an issue. So Al Lazard goes down with a shoulder injury. You already had no Randall Cobb. You already had no Christian Watson. So it was pretty bare here for Aaron Rodgers and the Packers late in the game. So Lazard will monitor that injury. They play the Bills this week. Not a very good matchup. They really need Lazard out there with the way that Romeo Doubs was disappointing, dropping his key passes there. Amari Rodgers was not good. They need Lazard pretty badly. So we'll monitor that all week. And he was on the sidelines late in the game when they had a chance to win it. So a little concerning there with Al Lazard. And finally, we'll look at Mike Boone. He got hurt as well. So when they pivoted back to Melvin Gordon, he had the most carries, 11, but Latavius Murray looked the best here. So poor Mike Boone. Things have not worked out well. They seem like a little committed to him behind Melvin Gordon, and they also put Melvin Gordon in the doghouse, but they also got Latavius Murray off the street. So Mike Boone's value is pretty much dead here in fantasy football. So those are the major injuries, major to minor, we'll say, on that spectrum. But Breece Hall, the big one here. Go get Michael Carter. Get Carter there if you have that chance. So hopefully you had the Hawkman backfield of Carter Hall and you protect him pretty well here. But if not, here's an opportunity there for other people to maybe get an RB2 the rest of the year. All right, we will talk about the disappointing players, including Lamar Jackson and Tom Brady in our next segment here. We'll play Panic or Patience with those players here on Locked On Fantasy Football. This episode is brought to you by Prediction Strike, the world's first sports stock market. You can now invest in professional athletes just like stocks. It's a lower risk alternative to sports betting, and athlete prices move based on performance and supply and demand. If you invested in Jalen Hurts just a year ago, you'd be up 48.2%. Kyle Pitts, we know how it's been the pits for him. He's down 44% and more here after his struggle to start the year. We'll get more into him in our next segment. There's tons of options for you to look at here as well as we look at player stocks and how you can try to maximize the return. There's only the 2.5% trade fees, the lowest in real money sports. All athletes benefit too are entitled to a percentage of their market cap, unlike sports betting companies. You can invest in 4 sports, not just NFL, but UFC, NBA, and MLB, as we're in the World Series with the Phillies and Astros. Everyone knows you should be investing, but why not invest in what you actually know as a football fanatic? Download the Prediction Strike app. Use the code LOCKED for a free share when you sign up and make a first deposit of $20 or more. That's the promo code LOCKED for a special one-time giveaway. Prediction Strike will choose one person who signs up with code LOCKED and makes a deposit to win 100 free random shares. That could be worth up to $3,000 if you get lucky and receive Josh Allen shares. Invest in what you know on Prediction Strike, the stock market for sports. And look, it was a big year for me this year. It's a 10-year anniversary, and I had to make it special, and I trusted only one place, Blue Nile. And whether you're looking to pop the question or just have a milestone to celebrate like I did, you want to let your love sparkle. Blue Nile can help you make your celebrations even more memorable. As the online original jeweler, Blue Nile offers the largest selection of independently graded diamonds and pieces priced significantly below traditional retailers. Blue Nile has helped millions of couples create their perfect engagement rings. Their easy online tools let you choose a diamond shape, size, and clarity, as well as the setting style. Blue Nile's bench jewelers will then help you handcraft her perfect one-of-a-kind engagement ring. Looking for a piece of fine jewelry to commemorate a special milestone, but still having trouble choosing? Blue Nile has jewelry experts on hand 24/7, available via phone or chat to help you find a memorable gift at every budget. Shop stress-free with Blue Nile's 100% satisfaction guarantee. All Blue Nile orders are insured and shipped for free in discreet packaging. They also have overnight shipping if you're in a rush. So really special moments, and going to make it just very stress-free for you. Make your moment sparkle with Blue Nile. Go to BlueNile.com and use the promo code LOCKEDON to save $50 on your purchase of $500 or more. That's BlueNile.com. That's BlueNile.com. Promo code LOCKEDON to save $50 on your purchase of $500 or more. That's, again, $50 on your purchase of $500 or more. BlueNile.com, code LOCKEDON. All right, it's time to continue the show with the players that disappointed us in fantasy football this week. Lamar Jackson, I don't know what's up with him. He was really hot, and now it's very contained here. You did have Gus Edwards return and wake up that traditional running game. He had 2 touchdowns. That kind of Lamar's value, as well as Mark Andrews. I don't know if he was not right with the knee injury. I mean, he was good to go. He's active. They didn't say he was limited, but he only had 1 rush for 4 yards, not even a catch from Mark Andrews. Rashad Bateman was on a snap count, so things didn't all work out well for Lamar Jackson. He was pretty much down to Devin Duvernay trying to make plays there, but again, the Browns didn't offer enough resistance, so they just kept running the ball. So 120 touchdownless yards through the air for Lamar Jackson and only 59 rushing yards as well. So very disappointing performance for Lamar Jackson against that Browns defense. Again, it'll pick up, but the Buccaneers are not easy this week in the matchup that you're facing. Tom Brady, 276 yards. That's the team that the Ravens are going to be facing. The Buccaneers, 276-0. We had that big miss on the long touchdown potential pass, 75 yards to Mike Evans that he dropped, and that set the tone for the day. It was pretty bad. Mike Evans recovered with massive target volume, nearly pushed for 10 catches and 100 yards there, but Brady just empty. You don't see this very often. He's dropped well into the QB2s after 2 really clunker weeks and 2 good matchups. So I don't know what to do with Brady. The Ravens are not going to help there this week. I don't think their defense is starting to play pretty well, and they're containing the blitz a little bit. So I think they're going to play zone and make Brady beat them that way at this stage because he's getting impatient, making mistakes, and that's a concern. But I wouldn't panic too much. He's the GOAT in and around. The same game, Leonard Fournette only 10 carries for 26 yards. Is the guy slowing down a little bit? I mean, he's been very explosive and productive in several weeks. I wouldn't panic yet with Leonard Fournette. I think he's still got that potential to have a big rebound. And again, maybe we'll see a little bit more run from Rachaad White, but it's a tough matchup to recover from, turn around. At least it's at home this week against the Ravens. They did give up quite a bit there to Nick Chubb, more than we expected with that Ravens run defense. So maybe a little bounce back spot, and maybe the Buccaneers will get a little bit more basic with Fournette, Evans, and Godwin going forward there, with Russell Gage also notably getting hurt late in that game against the Panthers. What do we do with A.J. Dillon? Oh, boy, 4 carries for 16 yards. I told you to sit him. At this point, we have to see him get more involved in the offense. The game script is not helping. The Packers are 3-4. They played from behind against the Commanders. That's never going to be good there, and it led to a big day for Aaron Jones. But A.J. Dillon is not going to get enough meaningful carries and catches here when the Packers are playing from behind. So A.J. Dillon, a big disappointment as an RB2 so far this season. Dak Prescott, only 207-1 here, but he was just getting back from injury, and this Cowboys team didn't really face resistance at all from the Lions. Once Amon-Ra St. Brown went down, there was nothing from Jared Goff and that offense. They needed turnovers to help there, but this Cowboys team ran wild. Dak did get a late touchdown there, passing to kind of pad his stats late, but still not a lot there with Dak. So we'll wait for it. It'll come. Chicago is on deck. Maybe a similar situation, however, where they go run heavy and don't rely too much on Dak to put it up in the air. All right, we're now looking next at Matt Ryan, 243-1-2. The bottom line with Matt Ryan, he's a weird quarterback on the road. He just doesn't get it done. Very similar to what we saw in Atlanta indoors. When he was in a good matchup at home, you play Matt Ryan. When he's a bad matchup or questionable, even good one on the road in the elements, he's usually not good. 243-1-2, just a bad performance. He was too reliant on Paris Campbell at 10 catches for 70 yards. Not enough Michael Pittman, not enough Alec Pierce, none of the tight ends to give him a good day. And Jonathan Taylor, he dragged down with them because, again, he put them in a bad spot with a bad interception, pick 6. It was actually Paris Campbell's fault there, but why are you throwing to Paris Campbell? The disconnect was there on the one big play that changed the whole course of the game. Another interception for Matt Ryan in a high leverage situation. So this was ugly. I don't understand the Frank Reich game plan. You get Jonathan Taylor back. He starts looking good here. You put the ball too much in Matt Ryan's hands early. You got in the hole. You couldn't use Jonathan Taylor as much as you wanted. So this is pretty ugly overall, Frank Reich. I mean, they went from geniuses, using everything right with the backup running back Deion Jackson, to looking terrible with Taylor. I don't get it. Colts are week to week here for me, but I'd rather play their assets at home. Cortland Sutton, only 3 catches for 23 yards. That's patience on that. Russell Wilson should be back in the week 8. Russ's guy here, but not clearly. It was not Brett Rippon's guy, because we did see him throw a lot more to Jerry Jeudy in this one. 2 disappointments of back-to-back here. 3 catches, 9 yards for Kyle Pitts. 1 catch, 9 yards for Drake London. Keep in mind, Falcons, even in a big trail game, the game script, they still stuck with a run. That is disappointing here. So these guys are off the radar here. Just extremely hard to trust when Marcus Mariota is trying to throw less than 15 passes every game here, even if they're losing. So I don't know. Arthur Smith, we need maybe a quarterback change to Desmond Ritter to unlock these guys, I think, as much as we would like here. And maybe it's coming here soon. The Falcons fall out of playoff contention. All right, finally, let's look at Christian McCaffrey, 10 for 62 in his debut. Deebo Samuel, 6 for 44 here. So I don't know if these guys are going to kill each other's value, but they disappeared. We had Ray McLeod catch a touchdown. George Kittle had one as well. Good day for Brandon Ayuk as they threw for 300 yards with Jimmy Garoppolo, but pretty ugly here that it's going to be more piecemeal. And then the Chiefs, great matchup for both of these guys. They're the UCMC more than we thought, giving him in the 10 touches. Samuel should have crushed this matchup. Overall, very disappointing there. And I think he'll get better, but maybe we're getting to too many mouths to feed. What we like to do is have the 49ers have their defense play well, play with leads again. That will help both of these guys produce for sure. So I'd say patience them, too talented there to fail. All right, we'll get in our final segment here. Look at the standout performances here of week number 7. We'll do that there. Before we do that, I've got to tell you here about PrizePicks here, our sponsor that is going to help you here with daily fantasy sports. It's exciting daily fantasy sports because, again, we make 5 PrizePicks plays of the week. We look at it. I mean, if we went for Patrick Mahomes over the passing yards, he shot past that against the 49ers. Great game for him yesterday. So, again, easy to look and break down. You would just look at the PrizePicks projections available. Pick 2 to 5 players if they will go score more or less than their PrizePicks projection. You can win up to 10 times your money on any entry. No competing against other people, just you for the projections available. PrizePicks offers projections on any sport that you want. That includes NFL, NBA, MLB, NHL, PGA, college football, college basketball, soccer, WNBA, sports, NASCAR, tennis, MMA, boxing, disc golf, Euro basketball, cricket, and more. Entries can be made in 60 seconds or less. It's that easy. Safe and fast withdrawals. It's currently operational in more than 30 states and Canada. Download the PrizePicks app or go to PrizePicks.com to sign up to play daily fantasy sports. First-time users can receive a 100% instant deposit match up to $100 with the promo code LOCKEDON. If you deposit $100, PrizePicks will give you $100. If you deposit $50, PrizePicks will give you $50. Don't forget to enter your promo code LOCKEDON to sign up for instant deposit match up to $100. All right, it is time to close the show. We'll go rapid fire here to break down the performances. Let's do it. Daniel Jones, 202-1 through the air, 107-1 there for the Giants. What a performance here. He's starting to be poor man's Lamar Jackson, man. He is bringing it. The Giants are winning. He's playing well. He's making work with his targets. Daniel Jones is for real as a back end QB1 here. So definitely go for him in all leagues. He should be rostered through the bye weeks. He has more value than that. I mean, when you run for 100 yards, you're a legit cheat code quarterback. And welcome to that family, Daniel Jones. Travis Etienne, it's over for James Robinson. 14 carries, 114 yards in a TD. He did lose a goal line fumble, but man, he could have had a bigger game. But Etienne, the talent is manifesting itself, and the same matchup. So Daniel Jones versus Travis Etienne, what a show there in fantasy football. Again, Jones needs way more love as a QB1. Etienne is now working his way into RB1 status with his usage now, feature-like there for the Jaguars. Shout out to Joe Burrow, Jamar Chase, Tyler Boyd, destroyed the Falcons secondary better than we even expected. Another big 2-touchdown game for Chase. Joe Burrow goes for 501 combined yards and 4 TDs. Tyler Boyd, long touchdown early, working on the slot. T. Higgins had a decent game. Joe Mixon came through. The Bengals are back, baby, and we like it here. Good job by the Bengals to not disappoint us and get those big plays back in their offense. Josh Jacobs, what a performance here. This is for real. He is an elite RB1, folks. He's RB2 on the board, 23 carries, 155 yards from scrimmage, 23 touches, I'd say. Opportunities, 3 touchdowns. So it was all Josh Jacobs. Where's Derek Carr? Where's everyone else? Josh Jacobs. This Raiders run blocking has been fantastic. It's all about him now. He's getting all the touches. So Josh Jacobs, league winner. But make sure you have him backed up there with the rookie, Zamir White. Kenneth Walker, league winner, 23 carries, 168 yards, another long touchdown, 74-yarders, second score of the day there against the Chargers. What a game. This kid is amazing. The offensive line is playing well. Geno Smith is playing well enough to set up the running game. So Seahawks, we knew they were going to be run heavy. Look good with Rashad Penny. Looks even better with Kenneth Walker in there for you. Michigan State, he's picking up where he left off, folks. Explosive runner. And now with Breece Hall down, he's going to be the biggest rookie difference maker. Austin Eckler, 12 catches, 96 yards. He was the whole offense. Mike Williams went down. You had no Joshua Palmer. Keenan Allen was hurt, getting back. Austin Eckler is the offense. He's dominating. It's hurting Justin Herbert. 2 more touchdowns for him. 9 carries only for 31 yards, but you'll take the 12 catches every time for near hundo, especially with the volume and the PPR potential there. Speaking of PPR, Aaron Jones was fantastic in PPR yesterday. He was their only reliable receiver. We talked about the Lazard injury. Didn't trust Dobbs. Didn't trust Rodgers. You had no real trust in Sammy Watkins downfield. You didn't have Watson. You didn't have Cobb. So Aaron Jones took over. He had the 2 touchdown catches, including a brilliant one that got the Packers on the verge of completing a comeback. 17 touches for him, 76 yards and 2 touchdowns. Aaron Jones, unlock Aaron Jones, more Packers. He's the key to your offense. Mecole Hardman, this was a bit fluky, folks. 6 touches, 60 yards, 3 touchdowns. That was Mecole Hardman. 2 jet sweep touchdowns. Fluky. So we're not going to follow that, but we are going to follow the better box score in the game. Juju Smith-Schuster catches 7 of 8 targets. Another great game for him after the Bills blow up. He looked fantastic. 7 catches, 124 yards, and a TD. So Hardman, a guy, fluky. Don't force him into your lineups. Juju, pretty much locked in as a wide receiver, too, at this point with his usage. Marquez Valdes-Scantling, good shot play guy, but only 3 catches there for the 111 yards. Patrick Mahomes, shout out for him, 423 yards and 3 TDs. Great stuff there. And this was a week for some of the studs to come through. I mean, look at those running backs. I mean, Jacobs, Walker, Eckler, Jones, and you had Clyde Edwards-Helaire, even bench for Isaiah Pacheco. He got it done with a touchdown in this game. So big performance for all the Chiefs principals. Travis Kelce could have had a bigger game. He had 93 yards receiving. He couldn't quite get a touchdown, but everyone got one. There were Hardman, and just a great day all around for that Chiefs offense. Is really getting into high gear now. And finally, Raheem Mostert, Sunday Night Football, 20 carries, 109 yards, and a touchdown. They put in Chase Edmonds for some inexplicable reason on a 4th down play and predictably got stuffed. So what a day for fantasy. If you had any of those guys, if you had some of those guys in the middle I talked about, sorry about that. We'll continue and work to get better with our teams. And the Breece Hall injury, biggest bummer there. Thanks again for making Locked On Fantasy Football your first listen today. For your next listen, check out the Locked On Sports Today podcast. Biggest stories of the day, plus instant reactions, big game recaps, and the take of the day. It's available on the Odyssey app, YouTube, and wherever you get your podcasts, just like Locked On Fantasy Football. For Locked On Fantasy Football, it's our reactions to Week 7. Tune in tomorrow as we will bring up the waiver wire for Week 8. How do you help Breece replace Breece Hall to these injured wide receivers? We'll help you on the waiver wire ahead of Week 8 with more buys coming.